Greetings, crafters. It's Julie Creek from Creek Bank Creations. It's June 1st, 2024. I'm excited to be with you here today to share a new product with you called Fold Out Photos. This die has been specifically designed for our mini album system called Skinny Dippin', and I am going to share with you today how this fun die works, and you will see you can add this design into either the drop-in page album or the pocket page album, and it is a fun die that allows you to build a photo frame on your page, and then as you pull the pieces you can watch the fun unfold. So each of the flaps can add 2 photos to your project, and then you have the inside as well. Whoa, that's amazing. So I'm here to share this with you today. It's called Fold Out Photos. Let's turn the camera down and get started. So let's talk about Fold Out Photos, our new die that coordinates with our mini album system. As you can see here, fits nicely on the inside of the mini album page, but we need to talk about some details with this die. When you start to think about how you want to design with this, you need to know that in order for this to fit, you need a page that is 8.25 inches long. That is the length of the page, if you're using it as is. And when we get to the end of the video, I'll explain how I tweaked it a little bit. But basically, what we want to do is we want to look at our size page and we want to decide, am I using a drop-in page album, which is what I have here, which is the basic album, and then I've taped the pages in, and then I have the ability to accent the pages. This is what you call a drop-in page album. It's where we're going to start today. We also have the option of building a pocket page album. A pocket page album is going to mean that you purchased the spine die, you've inserted it into the album, you've cut the pocket page, and you have the pocket page insert. So when you build a pocket page album, you would have purchased the spine die and you would be making a 5-page album. So that's a different way to work, and we will get back to this and talk about this. Right now we're going to start with the drop-in page album. So when we look at our die, I have put this on the sheet. Now I want you to see how I have this set up in my system, how I store it, because it helps me. So I figure if it helps me, it can help you. So what I have here is I have taken the dies and I have used a Sharpie and I have outlined them on the package, and I have figured out which is the large, which is the largest, which is the medium, and which is the small. When I'm talking about large, medium, and small, I'm talking about the length of this piece from the top to the bottom. This one's 8.25 inches long, the medium is 6 inches long, and the small is 5.75 inches, and I've labeled those so that I know what I'm doing. I will tell you that when you start working with this, you will find it very helpful to have them labeled and use them on the sheet like this. So here's what we know. The pocket page album, when you look at it, the size of that page is 5.75 by 8.25. So it's 8.25 inches long and 5.75 inches across. And that's what I have written down on my paper right here. Okay? Now, on the drop-in page album, that is offered in 2 different sizes. I want to open this up and show you the inside of this page. When you open it, you have your 1/2 inch piece here that you've taped into the album, and then you have 6 inches here and 5.75 inches here. So depending on where I want to put the fold out photos, it's going to depend on which die I use. I'm going to still need the one side for 8.25, but if I'm working on the 6-inch part of the page, I'm going to use the medium die. If I'm going to use the smaller page, I'm going to use the 5.75 inch side, which is this piece over here. So you need to decide first, what kind of album am I using? and what's the width of the page I'm using. I will tell you, I have found it most helpful to adhere these to the middle of the album. It is a little bulky, so putting it right in the middle is helpful. And on the drop-in page album, I like to put it on the back. I found that to work really well. And I'll show you in the album where I did it both ways. My preference would be to put it on the back, where this piece right here is 6 inches across. So that would mean that when we're making a drop-in page, we're using the large die and the medium die. I hope that makes sense to you. So what you need to do is measure the width of your page and decide, am I using the 6-inch width or the 5.75 inch width? And I'm going to combine that with the 8.25 inch. So this is the long piece. We're going to cut 2 of these, and we're going to cut either 2 of these or 2 of these. Now, as we go along today, I'm basically working through these notes that I have written on my actual sheet here. So you can add them to your sheet if you want to, so you'll have them as a reference for later, or you can just follow along in the video. We are going to start working with the drop-in page album first. So in order to make a drop-in page album, you've purchased the Skinny Dippin' album, you've purchased the drop-in pages, and before we adhere those pages in the book, I need to show you something. When you open up the package of drop-in pages, this is your drop-in pages, you want to open those up, and these are actually machined in a shop for us. We need to make sure that our measurements on this are precise. And as they're machined currently, they are not 100% accurate, which did not matter until now. And now it matters. So what I want you to do, you're going to take your drop-in page before you put it in the album. And you're going to put this up on the scoreboard. And we're going to take our ruler. And what we want to do is make sure that this score mark, so we have our first fold right here. That's our fold. And we want to be from the fold. See, I've got this. There's my fold. So I have pushed that up against the edge. From the corner over all the way across, we want to score at 6 1/8. So that would be 6 1 hash mark. Now, you might be saying to yourself, but there's already a score mark there, and it's not at 6 1/8. And I'm going to tell you that's okay. We're going to take this and we're going to rescore it at 6 1/8. All the way down. We're going to pull that off the scoreboard, and we're going to fold that on that line. So as we're folding it, we want to make sure that we have this straight across here and that we're getting that fold to have a nice straight line, because we're going to build on the back of this page. So we need to make sure that it is measuring exactly. Now, we already have a little fold over here that was previously done at the manufacturer, and that won't matter because we're going to be putting pattern paper all over this anyway. I have previously scored this and checked it before I adhered my pages in, and I know that I have the surface that I need here to get started with. So before we build this, one of the things that we need to talk about is I really prefer that this have a belly band on it to hold it closed, like you see I have here. So what you want to do is think about, do I want to have a closure on it? Am I going to use magnets? Am I going to use a belly band? How am I going to do it? And then if you choose to do the belly band, which I would advise, you'll want to put that on first. So that's where we're going to start today. And anytime you're doing this, if you're going to use the belly band, you want to start with the belly band. So when I'm talking about the belly band, I'm referring to the belly band die. You can find this on our website. I will put links for everything that I'm talking about today down in the description below. And it does include that die, Best Day Ever. So this includes a base that you could use by itself, or you can use the matte piece that goes with it. When you use the matte piece, it has ribbing in it, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it on this or not, but it's really nice. It looks like ribbon when you die cut it. So that's your piece you're going to lay on there, and then we're going to add a magnet right here so that we have the ability to have a closure. Now whenever I add a magnet inside my mini album, I always use the ribbon lock die, and I cut that on super tacky tape, and then I cut it on what's called a tape sandwich, and I'm going to cover that later in the video. But that gives me sticky on the bottom and sticky on the top. So I'm going to pull that off, and I am going to be able to set my magnet right in the middle of that belly band, and then I'm going to put this on the top. Now if I have regular paper that I'm putting on the top, I would put another what I call sticker magnet on top of that just to secure that, because the tape really does a nice job of securing the magnet and allowing the paper not to burr through the top. This piece I cut with my super tacky tape on the back, so it already has the tape on it. I'm going to push that down, and I will have just created my belly band. For our project today, when you're making the fold out photo, I estimate that I'm going to need to score at 3 and 3 1/4. Then I'm going to put it in my paper trimmer and trim it at 5 inches. I need 5 inches on this side. So I will train the fold. And now I have my piece that I need for my page. So I am going to take my book, and remember I'm going to build back here on this. So what I want to do is mark the center point of this page. So I am going to mark this at 4.125, which is the center point. And basically that's 4 and a little more. I'm going to adhere this right on the edge of my page, and I want the second score line to be lined up with the edge of that page so that I will have a flap, and then I'll have that 1/4 inch section right there, which gives some room for that piece to come up and have closure. You will need plenty of room in this because you will be adding photos. So I've added my super tacky tape to the back. We will remove the tape liner and adhere this to the middle of the page, right on the edge. And we have our first step done if we want to add the closure. We need to cut the base pieces that we're going to build off of, and these are the dies that are in your set for the drop-in page. We're going to cut 2 of the 8.25 inches, the large ones, and we're going to cut 2 of the medium ones. And we're going to put that on that 6-inch section. So we're going to die cut these pieces, and we are going to go along here and train all the folds. One of the things I wanted to show you was when you go to fold this, you put your first fold in, that's pretty easy. When you go back to get that second fold, you only have 1/4 inch between those two. If you lay your ruler down, you can run that along that edge and get a really nice clean edge for your pieces. So you want to do that with all of the pieces that you've die cut, all 4 pieces. I have my pieces folded, and then we need to cut the mat that goes on the front of each of these pieces. So if you look at your die, you will see that each one of these has a mat to go with it. So you'll want to cut a mat for each one of these, and you'll want 2, 4, 6, 8. You'll want 8 total, 4 here and 4 here. And then when we get going later, we will adhere those onto the front of that little piece. After working with this a great deal, I discovered some tricks on how to make this a little bit easier to put together and to make it more stable. So you'll want to grab a piece of cardstock and you'll want to get a scrap of your paper. Put the super tacky tape on the back of it. I have tape on the back, so I've unrolled my tape. I put my paper in there, and I'm going to cut a 2.25 inch square, and then I'm going to turn it in the paper cutter and cut it diagonally, and that's going to give me 2 triangles. And for every page that I do, I'm going to need 2 of these triangles. So that's a 2.25 inch square, super tacky tape on the back, cut it apart, and you'll have your 2 pieces. Now the other thing I discovered was that I really wanted the tape to help stabilize everything. And so I would recommend that you do this trick that I'm going to share with you next. Now, you do not have to do this. You can just use your 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch tape to secure on the back, but I really think this works well and it helps stabilize and secure everything. So we're going to need to die cut this, and let me explain what this is. You're going to want to take our 6-inch roll of super tacky tape, and you will go to the printer and get a piece of printer paper and lay that in the tape all the way across. Take your scissors and trim that off. Make sure you do not have any adhesive edge. We are creating what I call the tape sandwich, and it is how we made the sticker magnet. When I talked about that sticker magnet earlier, that little circle that I used for the magnet, this is how it's made. So I have unrolled my tape, and I'm coming back in with that sheet that I made, and I have the paper side face down, paper side down, and I'm going to put that right back into the tape, and that will build what I call the tape sandwich. Now the tape sandwich will give you a product that is sticky on both sides with a liner that you can remove, and that thin layer of paper on the inside so that you can easily die cut it. This gives things stability and flexibility because of the tape. There we go. So I'll make several of these at the same time. I keep them in an envelope. I do a lot of different things with them. For this project, we're going to need a full sheet like this, and you're going to need to cut one of each of the parts, just like you did in the cardstock. You're going to need to cut these. Now what I like to do is run along here, and you can either do this in your paper trimmer or just do it with scissors. It does not have to be precise, but I'm just trimming it off just a little bit, each one, and then I'm going to clip it in the middle. If you trim it just a little bit, it will make it easier to put on your piece, but you'll still have that really nice strong adhesion, and you will be able to get the adhesive all the way out to the edge, which is what's important. So we're going to do this with both of these. I've completed that task. I need to cut 4 paper mats, and we're going to use rectangles on this project today. You could use squares, you could use any shape you want, but for what we're doing today, we're going to use rectangles. I think that's probably what will be used most. And I cut my mats 4 by 6. By the way, I'm using 65 or 80 pound cardstock on this project. And then these I have cut to represent my photos. Now when I would do this, I would be trimming my photos just a little bit down to 3.75 by 5.75. You can adjust any of these measurements to your liking. We are ready to start putting our photo fold out together. So we're going to lay this down, and we'll see this is how our whole piece is going to come together. So what I'm going to do is start up here in the upper corner. I'm going to work with these 2 pieces. So I'm just going to slide these off to the side. And what I want to show you is what is very helpful is if you will work on a grid pad, because you will be able to line this up exactly where you want it and know that you're square. And then when you come in with the other piece, you can line that right up and you'll know that you're square. So what we're going to do is take that triangle that we cut earlier, and remember I said we're putting super tacky tape on the back of it. We're going to peel that off, and we will put this on that corner, and that will help to stabilize our corner. You want to put that as close to the fold as you can get it, but you don't want it over the fold line. So you want it within the fold line, but close. So we have that one built. Now we're going to come back and build the other one. So we want to come back and do the lower portion. Now I want to encourage you to learn from my lessons and be careful which direction you're facing. And the reason I'm purposefully leaving this one here and working this way is because I did one of these backwards and I had to take the whole thing apart. So that's why I'm leaving it set up there on my surface as a rectangle so that I know that my shapes are running the right direction. And again, I'm going to line that up on the grid. I'm going to bring the other piece down to it, and I'm going to set that triangle right in the corner, making sure I'm close to the fold but not crossing the fold. And now I have my two pieces. We're going to leave them as two pieces, but we're going to add the tape. Remember when we cut the super tacky tape earlier, and then we cut those in half? These are designed so that you can place these on your pieces and have really strong adhesion all the way out to the edge, out to this edge. I prefer that this adhesive be as close to the top edge on each of the corners as you can. So what we're going to do is pull that back liner off, and if you have trouble removing the tape liner, you can use a pick tool to pull that liner off. And we are going to put these super tacky tape pieces that we made, the tape sandwich pieces, all the way around these pieces, as close to that top point as we can get and as close to the edge as we can get. Now we have our pieces ready to adhere into the album. So we're going to add our album here. We're going to open that up, and remember we were going to go right here, right in the back, in the middle of the drop-in page album, and we are going to take our undo and we are going to prime our surface with undo. So we're going to go here, and you could put this directly on the product if you wanted to, that you've already built, on the tape that you already did, or you can put it on the paper. We're going to go all the way around. Undo is a solvent, acid-free, photo-safe, will not harm your product, your projects. We're going to pull off the tape liner, and the undo is going to give us time to reposition this so that we can get it to sit exactly where we want it. So what I like to do is fold that all the way in, all the way flat, and we will put that top corner up in the top corner, right up in there, and pull that down and line it up right along that edge. Tape sticking to fingers all the way down, and you can even see I barely pushed it. I barely touched it and it slid. Oh, I put undo on the wrong side. So I should have put my undo at the bottom. That's okay. I can come back in, put my undo down so I can get this lined up. So we're going to come back in here at the top, all the way down in a straight line, all the way to the bottom. And I can position this top to bottom so I get it exactly where I want and get this piece straight over here. Now the great thing is undo helps us solve all life's problems. So if I need to move it around a little bit, I can. Okay, there's my bottom piece. Now I'm going to come back in, put the top piece on. So let's remove the tape liner, and we need our undo. Get it going there. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to pull that, fold that all the way flat, line that up with the top corner, come all the way down. And you want to line it up here so that you're square there and square there, all the way at the top. Okay, now we're going to push it down. Now, I have a little bit of play back here. That little 1/8 of an inch that we added, I have back there, and that's okay. You want to get these pieces lined up so that you're good and square, and then you've just created your frame. Isn't that fun? Now, I will tell you, I was very successful in putting this on here, but I have made several of these. If you get frustrated because it's not lining up, don't forget your friend undo. You can literally put undo back on here, get it where you want, and rearrange. We are ready to add the decorative mats that go on the front of each of these panels. And this is what ends up really making this look so pretty. And what we're going to do is we're going to put each of these mats on, and then after we have the mats on, we will come back with our photo mats that we cut, and we will run tape runner right here, and we will adhere that right to the edge of that piece. So this is designed so that you have 1/4 of an inch all the way around, and you have enough room for your tape to go in there. And what I do is I keep this little piece of orange paper with my die, and that tells me exactly to make sure that I have 1/4 of an inch there, because I'm going to end up putting tape there, that I get that lined up straight. And I have die cut my pieces so that I have super tacky tape on the back. You could just put tape on the back, and we are going to work our way around our album using our little alignment guide just to make sure we have 1/4 of an inch there so we can put tape, and adhering the decorative pieces in the album all the way around. We are ready to put on our photo mats that we talked about cutting earlier. So I have gone around to each of these edges and run super tacky tape all the length down, because we know that it is going to be about 6 inches long, so we can put our tape on there. If I'm going to put a different shape on here, a circle or a heart or something different, I'll need to adjust the tape. But for the purposes of what we're doing today, we have our tape right there, and we're going to lay that right along the edge of the mat piece that we put in there, and adhere that down. Now we're going to push that down into the bottom, and the flap on the opposite side, on the left side, we are going to take and we're going to adhere that photo mat, and we're going to use the photo mat on the bottom as a place to line up so that I know I have everything covered properly. We're going to come into the top, and we'll do the same thing at the top. There's our top. We're going to come in with the bottom, and we're going to center these from side to side. When you attach them, you want to center them from side to side, and then you have your pieces all set up, and there you go. You have your photo mats attached to your fold out. Now you want to think about which one's going to be placed on top, and in this case, the right panel is going to be on the top. So we need to, before we move further, we need to add our magnet so that our closure works properly. So earlier we talked a little bit about the belly band and the magnet. This is the ribbon lock and sticker magnet die, and I die cut that on our super tacky tape, and that's what gives me those little shapes that I need so that I can adhere my magnet. So what I'm going to do is peel the back off, and then I want to look at approximately where the center of that is and where it's going to hit the closure at. And I'm going to stick that down because I already pulled the liner off. It's sticky on the top. Now it's sticky. I'm going to take my magnet, and by the way, we do sell the paper thin magnets on our website. I'm going to just push the magnet down into the tape, and you can see I can pull that off and it'll sit exactly where I want it to sit. Now I'm going to get another sticker magnet. I'm going to peel the back off of it, and I'm going to place that on top of the magnet. and that will seal the magnet in my book, and it will keep the edges of my magnet from burring out onto my paper or photo. It protects things. So we will remove that liner, and I will have my magnet there, and then I will be ready to either place my photo mat or my photo right on top, and I'll have just really nice seamless adhesion there. And then I'm going to need to go around and put my photo mats on all the way around. I have my closure working properly. I have all of my photos attached, and I am ready to deal with the inside, this piece right here. I like to cut my cardstock for this 5.25 by 7.75. It frames it. You can cut it to any size you want, but that's the size I like to do. And then you can decide how you want to decorate the inside of it. That's going to sit there. You can add more photos here. Then you have your beautiful closure, fold out photos. Let's take a look at what that looks like in the other album that was finished. Here we go. You can see we have our title on the front, and then we can open that up, and we have our photos all framed nicely. Open that up. You have your inside place. Put your photo or however you want to do that, and you're good to go. Looks beautiful. Nice little accent. We're going to flip this over, and I want to show you what I did on the inside of this page over here. And this is a piece that I added to this mini album. This is the page length over here that's 5.75 inches long. So I took the die that's 5.75 inches and I cut it 4 times, and then I added the photo mats. And then instead of using a square or a rectangle, I cut circles, which I thought was really cool because it coordinated with, I've got the orange thing going over here with the oranges, or peaches I guess they are, and got that shape going. So this folds out with circles. So you can see, you can really get creative with what shapes you use. You don't have to use the rectangle. If you're going to use the circles, you want to look and make sure that your photos are going to fit on. My circle that I cut was really large, and probably you'd want to watch that size because you want to make sure your circle die is going to fit on your photo. So I would look at your photos first, choose the size circle that you want, and work from that angle. I cut these large, and I got to thinking later, I'd probably have to cut another smaller size circle to get my photos to fit, which would be fine. But you want to look at your circles and make sure you're going to be able to cut your photos before you do that. But you could see you can use many different size shapes on this because you're just adhering them to that base, and that's giving you the fold out photo look that you want. So the question is, if we have the Skinny Dippin' album and we want to make a pocket page album, so we've adhered the spine in it, and then we're going to die cut the pocket page, and we are going to adhere that to the spine. How do we do that? And if you have questions about how to make the drop-in page album or how to make the pocket page album, I'll put links in the description below to my other instructional videos with a lot of detail. So in this case, we have the spine already adhered, and I would cut all of the pocket pages. Go ahead and cut all 5 of them, and then you will have this base to work off of. Now, I would not adhere this into the album. I would cut the pieces that you need, just like we did before, to make your frame, but you'll need 2 of the long ones and 2 of the small one, the 5.75 inches. And go ahead and assemble this whole thing. Adhere your pieces on your base, just like we did the other one, all the way around. Adhere the blue pieces, or whatever your color is, on. So you have your basic frame. And then attach the pocket page to the album. Once you have that secured, then you can go ahead and add your mats and your other thing. But I think you're going to find it very much easier to work with if this is out of your album and then you put your pages on. Normally, I would put the pages on raw and then build these pieces in. But if I were using this, I think it's easier if you put it in first. Now, if you already have your pages in your album and you've already got to that point where this is already attached, then you're just going to start in the corner and do like we did on the other one and put it in. You won't have any problem. I just think it would be easier if it was not attached. I sure appreciate you watching the instructional video. You can find all of these products on our website at www.creekbankcreations.com.